and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you decided to click on this video today. I'm going to be chit-chatting with you guys a little bit more about another podcast. So yeah, I'm so excited. What else was I going to say? Oh, I'm going to try to do like a podcast once a week, if not more, but I'm trying to do at least once a week, but they're kind of going to be like spontaneous. So I'm going to try to do like at least one, but then like try to do more if I can and if I have time. But yeah, so I think that's all. I'm really excited. I like doing these videos because I feel like they give me a good like practice if I ever wanted to like speak at anything. I mean, not hinting towards anything, but I might be speaking soon at some stuff. So I'm really excited about that and just love how God is just calling me to specific places in my life and doing things that are just so much out of my comfort zone that I never expected I'd be doing. But you know, with the Lord's help and with the strength inside of me that the Lord's given me, I feel like I can do anything, because you can do anything through Christ. Anywho, let's start this podcast and let's chit chat from another Devo about what Sadie has taught us to live like, and let's just keep living out how God wants us to live and what the word says and all that stuff. Okay, let's start the pod. Hello guys, and welcome back to the podcast. It's Jordan again. I mean, I guess you mainly hear me on this. But what's going on? I hope you're having a great day. If you're not, I hope tomorrow can be better, and I hope you can just take a deep breath right now. Like, honestly, if you're having a bad day, just let's breathe for a second. Okay, ready? In and out. And wash all your worries away for the next like 10 minutes. Give all your worries, all your burdens to God, and just let me speak to you and let you hear what God wants you to hear today. Okay, so this podcast is called The Half Listener, and this is out of Sadie Robertson's Live on Purpose devotion book, and I just love these devotions, and they just are so much fun, and they really teach you a lot about how you should live out what God says in the Word, and it kind of just gives you a more in-depth understanding to what the Word is saying in certain places. Also, don't forget that I record all of this on my YouTube channel too, so if you ever wanted to see like me talking, if you ever just like wanted to see a video of me, kind of weird, but I do record all the podcasts for my YouTube channel, so yeah, go check those out if you want to. Anywho, the devotion I'm reading today is called The Half Listener. The verse reads, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11. Okay, so I just love that verse because it's like God saying, like, I know all the plans I have for you. Like, I am going to give you a hope. I'm going to give you a future. I am going to prosper you. He's not going to harm you. And he's like saying, like, your life is gonna be a good life. Like, I'm not promising that you're never gonna come across bad times, but I am going to be your hope, your strength, your light when you're in those darkest times. But I am never gonna harm you. I am going to prosper you. I'm going to give you a life. I'm going to give you a future, a hope. And I just love this because when I read that verse, like, I've read that verse many times. I've heard it spoken in sermons many times. And every time I hear it read, I just get this like light, this fire in me that just like makes me so happy, and it just makes me, like, that verse just makes me happy. Like, it should be a reassurance verse. Like, this is the verse I would turn to if you ever are doubting what God is placing in your life. Because he knows all the plans he has for you. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And you are just there, and you just need to say yes. You just need to jump in and allow him to do what he knows to do best. Because he is the only one that can give you that life that you are so needing. He is the only one that can give you the hope and the future that you deserve. And so once you say yes to him and his calling, as we've spoken about in a couple podcasts back, his calling for your life, he is going to just fulfill you from the inside out. And when I mean that, the inside is like things that you learn yourself, that God is going to teach you, just you. It's not going to be something that you see everyone else around you doing, because all those people around you are falling into the worldly sins and the worldly, all the things that the world wants you to fall into. That's what they're falling into. But God is going to change you from the inside. He's going to give you this heart to love and a forgiveness like no other, and just a joy like no one else has seen. And He's going to give you all that inside, and then He's going to show it on the outside and allow others to come draw near to you because of this light and this fire and this hope and this forgiveness and this grace and this love. And I think I already said love, but just like all of these things that are just so uncommon in this world, He is going to just allow this world to see you in such a different way, because He is the one living in you. Okay, so the devotion says, some people hear the call of God in their lives and they sort of listen. They sort of obey, but not really. Mostly they do what they really want to do all along. Take King Saul. God told him to take out the... Okay, I'm going to butcher this so bad, and I literally had to text one of my friends about this right before this podcast. I texted Will about this right before this podcast because I'm going to butcher this word so badly, and I'm apologizing already. Okay. Take King Saul. God told him to take out the Almaclites. I just butchered that so bad, and I just like practiced saying it, but I didn't say it right still. And destroy everything that belonged to them, as it says in 1 Samuel chapter 15 verses 1 through 3. But instead, Saul and his men spared the king and kept the best of the sheep and the goats and the cattle, the fat cows and the lambs, as it states in 1 Psalm 15:9. So basically, Saul only destroyed the stuff he and his army didn't think was worth keeping. Saul sort of obeyed, but not really. And because Saul didn't fully obey God, he didn't get to experience the fullness of God's plans for his life. He eventually lost his place as king of Israel. I first moved to Nashville because I felt God calling me to get out of my comfort zone. When I was offered a speaking opportunity on a tour based out of this city, I knew God was leading me there. The funny thing is, once I got to Nashville, I stayed in my comfort zone. I didn't challenge myself to fully obey what I knew God had put in me to go do. It took that Hanini moment that we talked about earlier. It's in the It's For You Calling podcast, if you want to go check out what I mean by Hanini, to get me moving. Here's what I want you to know. God is so good. He's so kind. If you don't respond to the call He has on your life, I'm not saying He's going to strike you down or send a big fish to swallow you. But from what I know about God, He is going to keep pouring people, events, and things into your life, trying to get you to hear Him and know how much He loves you. And until you answer His call, you're going to miss out on all the amazing things He has planned to do with you and for you in this life. More than that, though, you're going to miss out on the fullness of a life lived with Him, the love, joy, and peace of walking with God. That's better than anything this world has to offer you. And that is what you'll receive when you walk in the center of His will for your life. Don't just half listen to God. Don't just sort of obey. Go all in with Him. You won't regret it. Okay, so this devotion is all about just like, go all in. Don't be that half listener. Don't be the person when your mom tells you to go clean your room and do the dishes, you only do the dishes because you didn't hear the part about cleaning your room. Like, you heard that part, but you were like, I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to act like I didn't hear that, you know? And don't be that person that everything goes in one ear and out the other, and you kind of filter through it a little bit, and you're like, okay, well, like, maybe I want to do that, so, like, let me do that part, but, like, I'm just going to act like everything went in, and I only caught some of it, and it was just like some selective hearing and then everything else. Because I feel like this world is so prone to selective hearing. That is something that I will tell you this world truly is prone to. It's just selective hearing. We hear everything that we need to do by our parents, by God, by our authority figures, you know, by our boss, whoever the heck it is. We hear something we need to do, but we decide, well, I just want to do a little bit of that, but not all of that, because like doing all of that is just a lot to do, and like, do I really want to do all of that? No. So we pick and choose the things we want to do, and then what we don't want to do. And that's just like not how this world works, because you know what happens when you don't do everything you're supposed to do. What does your mom do? She gets mad at you. What does your boss do? You get in trouble for not doing everything you're supposed to do on your job. What does your teacher do when you only select a couple problems of your homework to do? They're like, oh, well, you're not getting as good of a grade, you know? So your boss might just be like, oh, well, I was going to write you a good recommendation to, you know, get promoted a little bit, but now I'm going to kind of like take that back now, because like you didn't do everything you were supposed to do. Like you did a few things, like thank you for doing those things, but you didn't do everything I asked you to do. So like, why would you deserve that? And that's the same thing God is basically saying to us. Is like, okay, you did a few of those things, like you half listened to it. You obeyed a few, but not all of them. So, okay, like, I'll give you a little bit, but like, you don't get you don't get the fullness I was gonna give you. You don't get everything that I had planned for your life, because you didn't want to do everything that I asked you to do. Like, everything I put in your path was for a reason. Like, you get called to this for a reason. You're not just getting called to this to like be like, okay, God, like you called me this, but I'm gonna take a step back. Like how Sadie was saying in the devotion, is like she went to Nashville because God was calling her to go there. But then when she got there, she just stayed in her comfort zone, which is not, like, yes, God called you, so, like, she probably got rewarded for some of it, but she didn't get the full reward. It's like, if you clean your room, and you don't do the dishes, how I mentioned earlier, your mom tells you to do the dishes and clean your room, and you only get half your allowance, because that's what you deserve. God is going to give you what you deserve, and what He puts, the price He puts on it. And so, if you don't do everything that He calls you to do, you're only going to get half the compensation for it, right? So all of us are like sitting here waiting to be rewarded, quote unquote, from God. Like we're waiting for a reward from God. But He's not going to reward you if you don't follow the things He's telling you to do, right? Like why do you deserve this reward if you don't even want to obey His callings for you? And so something that I've just really been recently feeling, I've seen it so many places, is just like, do what God is calling you to do. Go live out your mission. You literally have no clue when Jesus is going to come back to earth, and if you tell God no in any of those situations that He is calling you to go do all these things in, like when you're at the gates of heaven and He sees that, He is going to judge you based on how you lived out your life and how you decided on every calling that He gave you in life. So when you're at the gates of heaven, do you want to be like, oh yeah, God called me to go do this, but like, I didn't go do that because that was just a little too uncomfortable for me? Like, no. Because God's never going to call you to do something that's going to harm you. Like, it literally says in this book, in that devotion, the verse says, I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. He is never going to harm you. He is calling you out of your comfort zone, because comfort is not what He like calls you to do at all. He never is going to call someone to a comfortable life. Like, seek the discomfort. The discomfort is when you are going to truly find God. And one of my favorite things, I don't even remember who said this. It might have been like Gerald Fadiomi. If anyone knows who that is, such a good speaker. He actually just started a new church, and I'm so proud of him. But I think he might have said this. We had a church retreat my freshman year of high school, and we went down to Panama City, and something one of the speakers said was, chase calling, not comfort. Chase your calling that God is calling you to go do, not where you're comfortable at. And I kind of went more into explanation about this topic a couple podcasts back, I believe. I could not tell you which one it was. I think it might have been The Runaway. That sounds like a one that I would have talked a lot about, chasing calling, not comfort. But literally, like, do not chase where you're comfortable at. Chase where God is calling you to go. Because those two things are not equal. Like, your calling is not going to be comfortable. If it was comfortable, you wouldn't have that calling. God's not going to call you to do something you're already doing. He's calling you to do something you're not already doing. And once you obey him, you get the reward from him. Okay. Hopefully you got something out of that. And I hope if you're having a bad day, it just could give you a little breath of fresh air and give you something else to think about rather than all the stress that the world is. And so yeah, it just like, it basically says like, in this, I love how it just goes, you're gonna miss out on the fullness of life and a life lived with him when you chase what the world has to offer you. I just love that. Like, you're gonna miss so much if you just keep going to what the world has to offer. Okay, I'm gonna quickly pray y'all out, and then I'll see you in the next episode. Holy Father, help me to fully listen, fully obey, and fully follow you. Amen. Okay, guys, I hope you liked that podcast. If you did, I don't know, keep listening. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. Whoever is listening, just know God is going to do incredible things in you and through you. And just obeying his callings on your life. And not half listening, but fully listening and fully receiving and fully doing is going to do so much more than what would happen if you only selective listened and had selective hearing. But yeah, I hope I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Don't forget to stay positive. They're kind of like confetti, because you never know who's fighting or who's better. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye! Bye, guys.